me and my stepmom and my dad started the company. I dropped out of college. My stepmom dropped out of college. My dad dropped out of high school. And we devoted it to the King, and the King has blessed it.
I like how you mentioned how your hardships have kind of shaped you. What we go through kind of builds us into better people, into who we are, and how to be successful in life.
I cowboyed for a couple of years, and we kind of found a hole in the market, and it really started out as more of a media thing. We were making videos, and people just really loved the videos, and it kind of led to selling the ropes. And all of those things just worked together in a really great symbiotic relationship, and it's been really neat. God has definitely been faithful, but if we tie the ropes and spend our whole lives doing this and we don't love people, it's garbage.
You start this business and you're like, man, it's not going to work unless I'm working at it all the time, unless I'm always answering the phone, unless I'm always doing this, it's not going to get there. All right, Dalton Darnell, you are here. Thank you for coming all the way down to Baldwin County to film with us today.
You bet.
I'm really excited to have you on. When we decided to launch this podcast, I was like, I really have to have Dalton on because he has a great personality for podcasting. Also, you have so much going on, so many things for us to talk about. So I'm really excited. So thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So if anybody watching doesn't know, Dalton has 310 Ranch Life, which is a company, and I'll let you kind of go into what it is. And then you also have 310 EDU. Mm-hmm. And you have 2 boys and a wife, a whole family, and your wife is also a business owner, so you're crazy, crazy busy. And so I'll just give you a few minutes to kind of let our viewers hear what you do.
Okay. So about 8 to 10 years ago, we started a company called 310 Ranch Life, and we sell ranch ropes. I cowboyed for a couple of years, and we kind of found a hole in the market, and it really started out as more of a media thing. We were making videos, and people just really loved the videos, and it kind of led to selling the ropes. Shortly after that, about a year in, we were talking to a cousin of ours who owns a company called Groove Rings. They sell silicone wedding rings. And he said that he would trade Groove today. This is a $70 million company. He was like, I would trade Groove today for a teachable skill. And we most certainly have a teachable skill. So we started 310 EDU, and it is an instructional membership website where people subscribe and learn to rope. Additionally, I travel all over the place and teach clinics, like in-person training for roping and stuff. And really it just kind of funnels down, the educating people on how to use the products really helps sell the products. And all of those things just work together in a really great symbiotic relationship. And it's been really neat. God has definitely been faithful because me and my stepmom and my dad started the company. I dropped out of college. My stepmom dropped out of college. My dad dropped out of high school.
Wow.
And we devoted it to the King, and the King has blessed it. And so it's a lot of what we do. We wear a lot of different hats each. We don't always have the money to hire out professionals, so we just learn how to do it. And yeah, it's been really cool. I've learned how to do a lot of different stuff over the last 10 years of my life. So, you mentioned Kara's business. I don't really work for Kara or with Kara very much. I'm kind of her printer mechanic. Mm-hmm. And if she needs a hand, I dive in and help her out, because I love her and she's my wife.
Yeah.
But we really try to keep those things separate. That's her business. Mm-hmm. That's the money that she's making, and it's invested in her stuff. And we don't I'm just a grunt for her. Mm-hmm. I just come in and take the trash out and stuff. But she's been very, very successful over the last couple of years. So we are crazy busy, but it is a gift. We talked about it on the way here, actually. It's like,
hey, real quick before we get to the rest of the episode, if you're a local Baldwin County business owner and you'd like to learn how a podcast could help grow your business, or you're looking to grow your business through digital marketing or video content, email me directly at morgan@posteditmedia.com or check out my website at posteditmedia.com. All right, back to the rest of the episode.
She was talking about how busy she was, and I was like, what a gift. What a freaking amazing thing to be, is busy. So
busy with your beautiful family and busy with your three successful businesses. I mean, that's a blessing. Definitely a good problem to have.
100%.
So you mentioned that you dropped out of college. I know how I feel about college. You know, I kind of feel like it's a scam. Do you regret dropping out of college? Like, do you ever feel like maybe I should have just finished it out?
I regret going in the first place.
Yeah.
I went to school originally to coach sports. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I was an early childhood education major, and I come from a family of educators, a family of teachers. My sister's a teacher, my mom was a teacher, my brother's a teacher, and I am very passionate about teaching people things. I think it's a lot of fun, whether it's about business or roping or whatever. And God has fulfilled that in my life because I teach people how to rope all over the place, which is really fun. But I spent a lot of money to get nothing, and I got nothing not because I dropped out, but because they don't teach what the world is going to teach you. And once you graduate college and you go to your first job, that's when you start learning. What they teach you in school is how to color between the lines. And a lot of times when it comes to being an entrepreneur, you have to know how to color outside the lines. Like that's just, it's the nature of the beast. You got to be willing to take the trash out and do the QuickBooks. Like, and you have to learn how to do both. And so I stayed in college for as long as I did because I was fishing. And I fished for the school and I thought it was a lot of fun. I kept my grades where they were because of that. Eventually I dropped out of college. I was in a education class, and my mom is now the assistant superintendent for the whole county that we live in, but at the time she was a principal. And I would come home and I would tell my mom about what I was learning at school because, I mean, she does it for a living, you know? So she basically told me that what I was learning in school was 15 years outdated. And I was livid. I was like, I am paying these people tens of thousands of dollars to get nothing. This is crazy. So, of course, me being who I am, I go into the college classroom and I start arguing with the teacher. I'm like, hey, man.
That's like, who I am also.
Yeah, this is not pertinent to today. Like, we're not even going to use this. Yeah. And he was like, well, how do you know that? I was like, well, my mom's been a principal for 15 years, and she's telling me, like, this isn't even what they do. Like, you're a jackwagon for coming in here and taking our money and then teaching us something that's 15 years outdated. That's crazy. So now I'm going to have to pay you for 4 years and then go get a job and relearn it all? Like, that's nuts. So when I dropped out, you know, I ran down a lot of different paths, but the fact of the matter is, and I can look back at my life and I can see where God was fathering me through all of these situations. Every death road that I've been on, and it's funny that this came up because I'm in the middle of writing a book, and yesterday I was in a chapter of the book where I'm talking about death roads. And death roads are just roads that are not profitable for you. There's nothing at the end of them but death. And I was explaining how each of these roads you find yourself on as a young person, or even as an older person that is just learning these things, God's fathering you through all of this. Like, you're bumping your head against all of these walls that are going to be lessons you're going to use later in life. And I can go back through my time fishing, my time playing baseball, my time at Outback Steakhouse, my time in the military, and I can see where all of these lessons are coming to fruition in my life. And this year, because of Daryl, your husband, I started a podcast, and did not want to, and at all, but I did, and it's been successful. It's been really cool and fun, and I've learned a lot from it. But it was kind of an obedience thing, and that podcast has been a way for me to share my life lessons with people from all of these death roads. And I just find it super comical that this would be kind of my ministry, I guess, where I talk about Jesus quite a bit and my relationship with him and how it's changed over the years. But I just find it comical that I was 33 years old when this started. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that by design? Probably. And so it's just interesting to me. But college, if you're going to be a doctor, please go to college. If you're going to cut on people for a living, uh, if you're asking me what I'm going to tell my sons, is if they want to do anything but cut on people, we're not going to college.
Okay.
Like, I believe the military is a better training tool for young men.
Yeah, I agree.
Then like, you can kind of act stupid in the military, but not like you can in college. And if you want your son or your daughter to come out and learn discipline, learn how to follow rules and all the things that they should already know from us.
I'm being parented.
Yes. The military is a great option, and the military pays them, gives them somewhere to live, gives them food, and
Head Start.
Yeah, college it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a freaking joke.
I like how you mentioned how your hardships have kind of shaped you. It's so true that what we go through kind of builds us into better people, into who we are, and how to be successful in life. And that's part of why I wanted to start this podcast for the younger generation of entrepreneurs and people who want to come into business, to kind of hear the mistakes and some of the trials that people have been through, to kind of learn from their wisdom, because I've always taught being smart is being able to learn, and being wise is to be able to learn from other people's mistakes. And so, speaking of hardships, within your business, you've had to relocate a couple times. And it's so funny because Daryl and I have kind of followed you. So like you started in Alabama, and then you moved to Oklahoma, and then we moved to Oklahoma, and then you left us and came back. And so how has that been for you and for your family to have to relocate, and for your business?
So, there's good and there's bad, right? And both of those things end up being good. I think for me and Kara, it was a great thing. It was a great thing to kind of get out into the world and just be on our own, and it just be us. I think it gives us a real different perspective than my siblings even, and some of the other people that are around me. I will say that any time that you make big moves like this, paying really close attention to your wife is very, very important. And when we made the family decision to come back, it was based on my wife's need, right?
Okay.
Like, I loved being able to cowboy every day and being able to rope and do all the things that I do, but my wife needed more community. And so I really ended up with two options. Option one was to follow the flesh, so me, be selfish, right? I'm going to stay here because this is where the company is, and I get to do what I do. Option two, and in that option, I'm moving back to Alabama in about 10 years with a really pissed off wife. Option two, listen to the communication that's being given to me in a kind way. Hey, I'd really like more community, and just go ahead and bite the bullet and let God do what he's going to do with it. And so we initially moved to Oklahoma for more culture in the cowboy world, and it's more centrally located. And there's all these things that were sold to us based on the company. It doesn't matter. We're an e-commerce store. We can ship ropes from the freaking moon as long as the post office will slip in there and get them. So nobody cares that the rope's coming out of Alabama, in my opinion. And if they do, they can buy them from somewhere else. So we made those decisions based on, future growth for the company. The company didn't grow that much more in Oklahoma. It really wasn't that big of a deal. And so when we decided to come back, that was more of a personal thing. That was more of a personal decision to take care of my wife's needs and her understanding that, like, I'm probably going to have to travel more now. But when I did travel, there's grandparents all over the place to help take care of youngins. And so the personal battle for me is everyone's battle. It's the battle versus the flesh. Like, it's the spirit versus the flesh. So it's my selfish desires to get what Dalton wants. And you discussed, learning from other people's mistakes. This is a core value of the Art of Suffering podcast, is like, wisdom is the wise application of failure. And once again, just like you said, learning from other people's failures is a great thing. It's a needed thing, but you have to be looking for that, right? And so I can go back through almost all of my forefathers' lives, my great granddad, my granddad, my dad, and see the lessons that were there for choosing yourself, like being selfish, and what it does to your family, what it does to your wife and your children, and how they're affected by this. And I was deeply convicted by this. It's like, I'm not doing that. Like, I know that most of the time what Dalton wants is not profitable for me. That is the flesh. That is selfish. And if I wanted to be that way, I shouldn't have got married. I shouldn't have had kids. So if Dalton just wants to go do whatever he wants to do, I ought to just stayed by myself. Because once you step into that role as a husband and a father, now you're the leader. Like, what you want does not matter. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And what I found is that through all this moving around and through making these decisions, I found great peace in this. Like, being selfless for other people is the greatest gift that God's given me. And there's a lot of comfort in that, knowing that my wife and my children are more important than I. And it's and I would say that's the biggest lesson, that the willingness of Kara to come with me when I said, hey, we need to go, is a great privilege. Like, it's a beautiful thing that she did for me. I was able to go and cowboy and do. And then adversely, the exact same decision was made by me for her. Like, hey, we've been out here going and doing. It's not that great. I would like to go back home. And I made the same decision she did 4 years later. So the ropes don't matter. The business doesn't matter, right? Like, all of these things are simply things that God has given us to steward on earth. The heart of my bride, the heart of my children, the heart of the people that work for me every day is what matters. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, these ropes don't matter. Like, we're going to tie the ropes because we got to eat. Y'all want to eat and I want to eat. But if we tie the ropes and spend our whole lives doing this and we don't love people, it's garbage. It's garbage. We just wasted. It's a death road. It's not what it's about. So I'm very thankful for those lessons, and I've battled over the last 2 years internally of like just hating myself a little bit for making my wife go do that. And God has just proven to be very faithful in that and telling truth to the lies. It's like, hey man, think of all the good things. Think of the things that you learned, why you and your wife are a stark contrast to all the other people around you. And this isolation that you endured, or that she endured for you, taught you all of these things. You wouldn't be who you are if you didn't come out here and trust me. And so we lived in some sketchy places and did some stuff that she wasn't super happy about, but she trusted me through the whole thing. And that's part of, being in a fantastic relationship, in my opinion, is that level of like, okay, Dalton, you're the leader and I'm trusting you right here. And she has to trust that I'm going to listen to what she is saying when she does communicate something to me. And it was a beautiful opportunity for me to do that, to go, I hear you. I see you. I understand that you are having a hard time and we need to do something different. So it's a gift, but moving a, 7-figure business 3 or 4 times in 4 years ain't no dog petting contest. You know what I mean?
I think it is so funny. Like, I knew all of this, but hearing you talk about it, I think it is so funny how in tandem you and Kara's lives have worked with Daryl and I's lives unintentionally and without having anything to do with each other. So for our listeners who don't know, Dalton and Kara are part of our village, and Daryl and Dalton have been best friends for a really long time, and they're kind of family to us. We all started in the same area in Alabama, and then Dalton and Kara moved to Oklahoma for a totally separate reason. Then Daryl and I moved to Oklahoma a little while later. And then Kara and Dalton left Oklahoma to come back home to be closer to their family. And for a totally separate reason, Daryl and I left Oklahoma to come and be closer to our family. And, Daryl and I kind of started this business, and you guys are starting all these new things, and we're all just, our lives are so in tandem and crossed with one another without having anything to do with each other. It's so interesting. But there's so much wisdom in everything that you're saying. Keeping the family first and keeping God first is the only way to really build any real success, not just in your life, but, with your finances as well. You have to keep the main thing the main thing. With that, I wanted to hear, with you guys being so busy and moving around so much and having 2 kids and having your own lives and your own struggles and things going on outside of your business, how do you and Kara prioritize each other? And how do you, keep everything together and keep your family first when you have so much going on?
So my philosophy, this is many years ago, my philosophy for husbandry is outworking my wife times 10. And
I was hoping that you would get here and say this, because this is my favorite thing. This is my favorite thing that Dalton Darnell has ever said.
It's legit. So through the podcast, I made episodes about this, and my goal on a daily basis is to just flat outwork my wife to the point in which she can't eat. She doesn't have a chance. And she's becoming wildly more difficult to do this with. And through the podcast, I made an episode about this and talked about it. And then I kind of started thinking, I was like, man, I wonder if this is biblical. I wonder if this is real, if this is real truth, or if I'm just making all this shit up, And so I got in the Bible and I Google searched everything a husband's supposed to do. And I wrote them all down. And I found like 18 or 19 things. And then I Google searched everything a wife's supposed to do. And I wrote them all down. And those lists were right next to each other on a sheet of paper. And while it was not 10 times, it was 18 or 19 husband things and 8 or 9 things for a wife. And I was like, okay, so 2 times at least is biblical. And so it's intention. Like, once again, I tell every person that comes in and works with me that their family matters more than the ropes. And if I catch them at work missing kindergarten graduation, I'm going to send them on. And if the reason why they're at work missing kindergarten graduation is because they're not going to have enough money to eat or pay their bills or take care of their family, I'm just going to pay them to go to kindergarten graduation, because the ropes don't matter, right? So if I have this conversation with my people, the best way to showcase this, that you really mean it, is to do it. So you could walk into that rope shop right now and ask any one of them suckers, if Dalton's going to be here, if Kara's got something going on, the answer to that is no. And God has put the people in my lives, and we've built a culture to where that's okay. So if Dalton's got to miss or go do something else because Kara needs him, he's just going to go do it. And we'll get the work done later. It's going to be okay. And I expect the exact same thing out of all of my people. And if they can't come to work, I will happily come do their job for them. Because rarely do you find that 8 people have something going on. Like, there's always interchangeable, right? So this is our culture. This is what we do, is that the ropes are important, but they are not the most important. And so when it comes to my kids and my wife, I'm very intentional in the fact that my children understand that my wife is more important than them. I'm very intentional in the fact that she knows that she's more important than them. And she, vice versa, does the same thing. Because if I'm being quite honest, my children offer nothing. They're here to suck the life out of everybody they're around.
Don't we know it?
Yes, until they're grown.
Yeah.
And hey, I love that. It's great. I want them to suck the life out of me. But what they're not going to do is take my marriage, right? Because the greatest gift that I can give Wiley and Waylon on earth is a beautiful picture of what me loving their mother looks like, period. And so what that looks like is me telling them to hey, hush, I'm talking to your mother, right? And what this communicates to my wife, in my opinion, is that she is the crown jewel, right? Proverbs 31, like, she is the ruby on the top of my crown. And so it's very important to me that she understands this. So I guess what I'm getting at to answer the question is that I will neglect my work for my wife. If I feel like it's more important that I take my wife on a date than work, then I take her on the date because it's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like silencing a customer phone call in the middle of a conversation with my wife, gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they made voicemail. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude is not going to have a hard time if it takes me a day to call him back. And some people might call this bad customer service or whatever. And if that's your viewpoint, my challenge to you is critically look at your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your wife. Is she seething in the background? I literally wrote this in the chapter of the book yesterday. I was like, accomplishing your goals and getting congratulated by your peers while your wife seethes in the background because she was neglected.
Mm-hmm.
Garbage.
Wow.
Garbage. Not the call of the Father, right? That's not what God asks us to do as husbands. Nowhere in the truth does it say one time, prioritize your work over your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Never, right? It's not a thing. So you have to understand that the greatest gift the King is going to bestow upon you in this life is your bride. And you must steward this better than everything else, right? And this, my tattoo on my ring finger, I asked my granddad on my wedding day, I was like, what's your favorite Bible verse? And at the time, I wasn't even really a believer. But he was like, Ecclesiastes 9:9. I was like, okay, what's that say? And we're sitting on the front porch, a little house thing where the guys were getting ready before we walked out there. And he says, it says, your wife is a gift from God for all of your miserable days on earth. And so I got that sucker planted on my finger. And that's been true. That's been true. And for me, I'm kind of a, like through the art of suffering and stuff, y'all listen to that. I'm kind of a women's advocate, a little bit. I'm very hard on men, like very hard on your roles and responsibilities and what you're supposed to be doing. And then I personally believe that if all these heart issues are fixed in the man, they're the natural leader. The wife will follow. If she's following a good man, it's pretty easy to follow a guy that's following the truth. So this isn't always the case. But what'll happen is I'll post a short or a TikTok or whatever. I got all these guys in my comments like, I did all that and she still left. No, you didn't.
Mm-hmm. Let's be honest.
You didn't. You didn't do it. And the reason why I know you didn't do it is because the hardest freaking thing you're going to do in your whole life. Because this is the choice between you and someone else. Mm-hmm. It's selfishness versus sacrifice.
And it goes against human nature.
100%. So it's, while all situations are not the same, this is where I always start with. I had a guy, one of the guys that works for me called me this morning, and he's having a very hard time in his marriage. And he calls and he tells me all the things that his wife is doing. Okay. She's bipolar and hollering at him and being mean and yada, yada, yada. And this could have easily been a shit talking session about his wife, right? That's what it could have been. And that's not what it was, because that's not profitable. It's not going to do anything for his marriage. And so we discussed what he can do to transform his mind to follow the truth. Mm-hmm. And this guy, he works for me. He can't read very well. We talk about the Bible all the time, but he's like, man, I just can't read it. You know, well, I got another kid that works for me. He's 17 years old. This guy's 27. And this kid knows the book probably better than I do. Like, he's like my little sidekick. Like, when I'm talking about the Bible with the other guys in the shop, and I'm like, Caden, what's the Bible say about this? And he'll pop one off. I mean, he's like the best Batman and Robin you've ever seen. Anyway, I called Caden, and I said, Caden, I want you to Google search every verse in the Bible that talks about being a husband, and I want you to write them all down. And I want you to send it to Blake. And he said, okay. And so I'm talking to Blake, and he was outside the rope shop having a moment, you know, with me on the phone. I was on the way down here. And I got off the phone with him. I said, go in the rope shop and sit down in the office. And so Blake, we get off the phone. I call Caden. I said, Caden, I want you to go in the office, and I want you to read him every single verse you've written down. And I want you to explain the words on the paper. not from experience because you're not married, you're a freaking kid, but you understand the principles. And I want you to go transcribe this for him, translate it from the page to his brain. And I just want you to give him the truth. And these are the sorts of things that, like, this is what sharing your faith and walking it out does in people's lives. Like, it's transformative, but the only way that it works is if I do it in my own home.
Right.
Like, if these people watch me put my wife first, right? Put God first, my wife second, my children third, and then them in my work, my vocation. If they watch that, when they hit a wreck, when they hit a bad spot, what do? Well, they call you and they say, dude, I don't know what to do. My life's falling apart. And this is changing people's lives through testimony and walking with them. That's just what it is. So not only does loving my wife in this way transform my life, it makes my life better, but the people that walk alongside of me also benefit from this discipline of, like, what I want does not matter. What you need matters more. And then it creates this culture of, like, my wife does the same thing for me. Like, if I'm having a hard time, which happens often, right? Like, men in and of themselves are pretty needy creatures when it comes to a few certain things in the world. And because I recognize her need, she recognizes my need. And it's just this ever-flowing thing where everybody's getting their need met, but nobody's doing it themselves, which inherently makes it way better because you just know it's going to be met because you trust the person that's meeting it, and then vice versa. And then it's just a cycle. And once that cycle starts, it's really hard to get rid of it. Like, and it's very contrast to everything else you see. Like, you go to Thanksgiving and you get around your family and you're like, nothing will make you more thankful for your marriage than leaving Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you leave that and you're like, whoo, damn, I sure do love you. I'm sure am thankful for you, you know? So
yeah,
I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, answers the question. And I'm so glad that you're bringing all this wisdom about, prioritizing your family over work, because a lot of the reason that most people get into entrepreneurship or they want to work for themselves isn't just finances. It's because they want to build a life where they can be present with their children and their wives, but somewhere along the way, it gets lost because you start this business and you're like, man, it's not going to work unless I'm working at it all the time, unless I'm always answering the phone, unless I'm always doing this, it's not going to get there, because they get hyper focused on success, which I understand. When you have a business, you want it to do well. It's your baby, and you start rationalizing, well, if I don't build this business, I can't have success for my family. I can't provide all these things, and you start getting so focused on building a good life for your family and your kids that you forget to give them a good day. And so I think it's really important that our viewers hear that. Like, your family does still have to come first. And, like, I think that it's so wise and smart of you to prioritize your family. And I also think for your team, your staff, modeling the behavior, not just preaching it. Because it's one thing to say, just like with your children or anybody else you lead, it's one thing to say, this is what you should be doing. This is what the Bible says. This is what is successful. It's another thing for them to watch you do it,
100%.
The best way to teach your children and grow them into people you want to be is to be the kind of person you want them to be. Kids always learn and do as you do, not what you say.
100%.
Just how it is. So I think that's so wise. Do you feel like your attitude towards your staff of prioritize your family and put them first, and we'll be here, the money will be here, you come back to work, but put your family first, do you think that has made you more successful?
100%. 100%. And what we've built is a culture. And I've told, like, my partners in the business are obviously my stepmom and my dad, and I've told them for years, I'm like, I can build a culture. And when the company came to me, which I wasn't always the general manager, right? I was the marketing guy. That's really all I did for several years. when the company came to me, I kept telling them, it's like, I'm going to build a team of people and a culture. And God had all this planned out, but I knew it was possible because I'd seen it in other businesses that I'd worked for or other teams that I'd been a part of. But the key is something that maybe the people on this podcast don't know. I would say most people don't know this, like 99%, is the faith aspect of it. So, mind you, the people that work for me are degenerates. Like, you would look at them and you go, that guy is not great. We're talking kids with multiple women, or we're talking not believers here. And even if they were believers, they're goats, right? The goats and the sheep in the Bible that God would separate. And so for several months there, I was having some trouble with my employees. They were bickering and stuff. And one's calling me about this, one's calling me about this. And I was putting out fires here and there. And I had always dialed that up to, this is just the human condition, right? Like, we're just going to bitch and moan and fight and blah, blah, blah. And it's not. It's not. What it is it's a lack of understanding identity. And so I found this guy's podcast. And the people listening to this and be like, I thought this was about business. But I promise you, if you implement this, it'll change everything. Found this guy. He's on a podcast. His name's Jamie Winship. This dude is a freaking identity expert, okay? And if you've never heard of Jamie Winship, go look him up. Everything I'm about to say came from him. But this is my experience with it, okay? So I went through his identity exercise. And basically what you do is you go back in your past and you identify a lie. The lie, right? So you go back and the way to find this lie is you verbalize your biggest fear. So mine was worthlessness.
Okay.
What's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is being worthless to the people around me. Okay. And so what you do is you identify that, right? That fear is a lie. And you go back to the first time in your life that you felt that way. So it might be failure, it might be loneliness, it might be insert fear here, right? So I went back to when I was a kid, 12 years old, and a tornado had tore up my dad's barn, and we were rebuilding the barn. It was a ridge top roof barn. So the way that works is that one side of the roof comes up, the other side of the roof comes up, and there's this little thing that runs across the top. It's a ridge. So there's a gap. That ridge wasn't on there yet. We're nailing down the tin, and there's a gap in the roof. My dad says to me, hey, throw me the drill. Right? Pretty easy task. So I pick the drill up, and I pitch it to him. I didn't throw it hard enough. So it fell through the ridge to the ground from about 20 foot up. And I don't remember what he said to me. I don't remember his face. All I remember is feeling worthless. Like, you are garbage, right? And knowing my dad, he probably didn't even say anything. He was probably just like, gosh, dang it. You know what I mean? Like, I do that in my kid all the time.
Oh man, my dad would have let me have it. That would have been my villain origin story.
That's what I'm talking about. So it hit the ground. So what you do is you identify this moment, and that's when the lie of worthlessness was concepted, right? Boom, there it is. In that moment, there is a truth. It's very small. It's very hard to remember. It's very hard to think back to that moment and find that truth. The truth is, what were you actually trying to do? Okay? So what was Dalton at 12 years old actually trying to do? Well, anybody who knows my story, parents divorce, yada, 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 right? Finding that truth was very difficult for me. And so what you do is you pray to God and you say, God, what do you want me to learn from this moment? And I prayed this for days, over and over and over. And my initial thought was, I was trying to work hard. My dad is a very hard worker, very disciplined, very hard worker. I was like, I was trying to work hard. That's what I was trying to do. But again, what we're searching for is the truth in the moment, and the truth is your identity. And so do we think that God, the King of the universe, would knit a hard worker in the womb? No. It's a character trait. That's not an identity. Someone who works hard is not an identity. That's a character trait of a great person. Everybody should know how to work hard, right? So back to the drawing board. I'm like, that's not an identity. That's not the real thing, And so I'm chewing on it. Like, what do you want me to learn? What do you want me to learn? What do you? For days, I'm asking this question. And all of a sudden, I'm driving to the rope shop, and all of a sudden, it was like getting hit by a Mack truck. It's like I was trying to build a relationship. That's the truth in the moment, is that I was simply, as that kid, trying to build a relationship with my dad. And so then what Jamie Winship has you do with this truth, this is the part this is deep, 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 is you take that truth and you turn it into an I am statement. And you tell me, you've known me for years, if this makes sense. If I turn that truth, I was trying to build a relationship, into an I am statement, and I say to you, for the kingdom of heaven, I am a relationship builder. Would you say that fits me pretty good?
Yeah.
That
for sure
is an identity, right? So now that you have this identity, you apply it. You take your identity into your vocation. You take it out when you leave. I walk into this room as the relationship builder. I walk out of this room as the relationship builder, right? So what I did is I had a spat between Justin and Blake, my two best rope tires. And I was at home working or something, and they called me, and they're both just losing it. I was like, okay. I sent a group text. I said, everybody be in the office in 30 minutes. I'm going to be there. We're going to have a meeting. And I drove to the shop. And I sat everybody down, and I said, okay. I said, you do not have to participate in this. But if you don't, you need to go find a new job somewhere else. You will not follow me without this understanding.
Okay.
Like, what we're about to do is going to change your life, your children's lives, and your wives' lives. And then if we do it correctly, it will be for the kingdom of heaven. But we're going to apply it to 3:10 first. And I sat them all down, and I had every single person in the room say their biggest fear. And we wrote that fear down. And this is also...
And they did it?
Oh, yes.
These men?
Everyone.
Oh, my goodness. I could never get men to do that. I just can't.
Well, this is all part of feuding men. They're fighting.
But it's so hard to get men to open up about things.
Yes.
I guess that's, part of why you have the gift that you do.
Unless you lead by example.
Right. Okay.
Right? So, like, if they've spent the last 6 months with me talking like I'm talking to you, it's very easy for them. Like, when I come in having a hard time, everyone knows. Like, I'm telling you about it. You know what I mean? So, like, it was incredible. And this is all Jamie Winship's method. Like, I'm not robbing that. He wrote a book called Living Fearlessly or something like that, but I've listened to all of his podcasts. He's freaking incredible.
Subscribe to me before Jamie. But
yeah. Go here first, then Jamie.
Here first.
It's unbelievable.
Then go there.
So he has you take that fear and write it on a sheet of paper. And he has you imagine giving that sheet of paper to Jesus and what Jesus would do with it, right? So again, the fear is a lie about you, planted by the enemy. So all these people, all 6 of them, wrote down their fear, right? We talked about what the fear was. We gave it to God. And what does Jesus do with it, right? Throws it in the trash, lights it on fire, eats it, whatever. We talked about what Jesus would do with it. And then I told them how to do it. I explained exactly what I just explained and then how to turn it into an I am statement. And then we left. Because God's timing in this is his timing. It's not just like, and you must get this identity in communion with God. This is not something you just say, Dalton says out loud, I'm a relationship builder. It's going to make very much so sense for you, but you have to allow him to say it to you. And then you also have to combat the enemy's lies, like the hard worker thing. So let's say that I chose to believe that being a hard worker was my identity. Do you think that I would be able to love my family the way I do if my identity on earth is to work hard?
Surely not.
No, because then the only way to get to heaven, right, is to work hard. That's who I am. That's not true. It's not true. So over the course of about 2 weeks, I went back to everyone individually. And my shop manager is the first one. Her name's Madison. And let me tell you something. I love this woman. Like, she is incredible. Like, total angel from above for me and my business and my wife. Like, they've become best friends. It's just great. And I went to her first. And I said, so did the king give you your identity? And we kind of talked through it a little bit. And she's like, I am a lover. That's what I am. It's like, that's an identity, right? I go to my shipping manager. Her name's Alyssa. I said, have you got an identity? She's like, I'm a caregiver. That's what I am. That's her identity. I go to Justin. We had to work through his a little bit. There was some lies trickling in. You know what I mean? Winds up, he is a teacher, right? Caden, the young kid, right? His identity is a truth seeker, right? Blake, same thing. Truth seeker, right? Someone who is searching for something. And honestly, the Blake and the Caden story is pretty interesting. I'll tie all this in together in just a minute. And then you have me. I'm the relationship builder, right? And so I sat down with everybody once we got them all, which nobody else knows that we got them all except me. So I brought them all together again. I got a sheet of paper and I wrote 310 Ranch Life at the top, and I wrote the relationship builder, the lover, the caregiver, the teacher, and the truth seekers, right? I write all this down. And I start tying all these things together, right?
Well, hold on. Is this hanging up somewhere?
No.
It should be.
Yes, it should be.
Okay, go.
It was on the back of an invoice.
Okay.
So I'm writing all this out, and I'm like, okay, so Blake and Justin come to us from broken homes. Justin hadn't seen his kids in years, blah, blah, blah. Like, just their lives are destroyed, right? And how about God sticks them in a position with a relationship builder, a lover, and a caregiver? Just these women that are like unconditionally loving these guys, even though they're just having a terrible time in life. You know what I mean? And then how about God sends the relationship builder a teacher, someone whose identity, who is not a teacher, he's not a school teacher, but he is an excellent teacher of what I need him to teach. And is totally fulfilling this identity in that. Every new person I send in, he just picks them up and takes them down the road and just does what God made him.
We all love that person.
It's freaking awesome. And then you got the truth seekers. One truth seeker is 17 years old and has a great family. And he has been seeking the truth in the word for years. The other truth seeker is 27 years old, has a destroyed marriage, right? Has been divorced once already, has been seeking the truth in science for years. And how about this morning, okay? The young truth seeker that has no life experience but has spent lots of time in the Word was able to translate the actual truth for another truth seeker that needs it in his life, right? So all of these things start working together. And I'm like, this is this, and this is this, and this is how this affects our business. And then I took that business and I pulled it up into another sheet of paper and circled it. And I said, now let's look at how all of these identities affect your lives. And I took their wife and their kids and I drew it all out. And I was like, now that the truth that you've learned here and how it applies to 310 and how this applies to your families, let me show you what it's going to do for the kingdom of God. And so I showed how all of their children and their wives are going to affect all of these people. I was like, this is the kingdom. It's not Baptist, it's not Methodist, it's not Church of Christ, it's not atheist, it's not Muslim. It's the kingdom of God or it ain't. That's it.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like. This is how it starts. But it has to start with someone understanding their identity and having the ability to teach these other people what their identity actually is. That singular event has totally changed my entire business. And teaching people what actually matters makes everything else just so easy. And they just come to work and they love each other and they love me
Did
I
two
love
that don't
them.
get along or didn't get along?
No problems.
Oh my goodness.
Zero problems, right? Because now we're not Blake and Justin freaking butting heads about who's doing what,
Yeah.
right? We all have an identity. We know what we're supposed to do, and we come in and we do it. And how it applies to 310 and how it applies to your family are two totally different things. Blake was able to apply his identity to work, right? We're having a hard time applying our identity in his marriage. And that's like literally today what step we're on. And like the book I'm writing, the first book is about this, like understanding the death roads, understanding what your purpose actually is. Like, why have you suffered so much? And what we're going to do with that suffering. And once you understand that part of your identity and your purpose, then what do you do with it, right? So it pays homage to, or the why behind the book is Wiley and Waylon. Like the prologue to the first book is a letter to them. This is a battle map for those young men.
Wiley and Waylon are Dalton's sons.
Yes, so
Okay.
they're my little studs, and
they are.
they're freaking awesome. They're freaking awesome. So the first book is like helping them understand their purpose in the world, right? And then book 2, we're going to apply that purpose to dating, what that looks like, what kind of woman you're looking for, and what kind of man you have to be
My daughter.
to find this
Hopefully
woman.
one of them.
Period.
Okay.
There you go. So then we apply this identity or this purpose to marriage. Then we apply this identity and purpose to fatherhood in book 4. And then book 5, once all of these things are taken care of, right? It's how does your identity and your purpose apply to the kingdom of heaven? Because that's what matters. And it all boils back down to loving people. So what I do with the people that work for me is I freaking love them. I just love them like unconditionally. They call and need money, I give them money. They call and are homeless, I find them a home. And these are real events that have happened. And the least of these, right? Like that's what Christ asks us to do. And I just love them. I just freaking love them. They ended up on my path. They owe me nothing. Like, and they try to pay me back all the time. They're like, hey, boss, I owe you, Bob. I'm like, shut up. Shut up. Like, I just love you. You know what I mean? And I truly think that that's the difference, is that I care more about them than the business. And when you create a culture like that, the business flourishes because all these people are just loved.
Yeah.
They're loved and accepted.
I think also when you take care of people and you love them and you put them first, they want to see your success and they care about your business and they care about your success because they care about you. When you're a crappy boss and they don't like you and they don't like the way you treat them, they don't care whether you're successful or not. They can go get a job anywhere. But they want to see you thrive and be successful because they want to continue working for you. And they want to see you succeed so that they can succeed with you. But it only happens if you take care of people. Well, Dalton, thank you so much for being on. If you could give our listeners one seed of wisdom in their journey into entrepreneurship or through their journey with their business and their home life, what would it be before we end?
Okay. It would be, I would say that it's hard to beat wisdom is the wise application of failure for me, because that is a big one. But understanding failure is very important. So failure is not who you are. It is something to learn from.
That's good.
So people get defined by their failures all the time. This is a lie. If you don't know your identity, right, it's easy for the enemy to lie to you in this way. Failures are things to learn from, not who you are. So fail and fail and fail again, because that's business. That's life. That's part of the game, is doing the wrong thing and figuring it out. Do not allow that to become who you are, because it's not. God would never introduce you to a crowd of people by your failures, ever. He would introduce you by your identity. And this is something I've learned very recently. I went and spoke at a church a couple of weeks ago, and I always do an intro. These people don't know who I am, right? So in the past, I've gotten up there and I've said, hey, my name's Dalton Darnell. I own 310 Ranch Life. We sell ropes. I've lived here, the cowboy there, blah, 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 blah. And this last time, I got on stage and I introduced myself in the way that I thought Christ would, if he was the guy introducing me. And so I got on stage and I said, hey guys, my name's Dalton Darnell and I am a relationship builder for the kingdom of heaven. And then off we went.
Wow.
And my failures are not who I am.
Sure. And
if you truly believe this, it's transformative. It's a really cool thing. So, and share the struggles, man. Like if you share your failures with people, if you pour into other people more than you have poured into you, you're gonna enjoy the ride more. It's just a fact. So, love the people around you, and in a way that is love your neighbor as you love yourself. Like you love yourself a lot, whether you think you do or not. And once you start giving that away, it's like the rainbow fish. You ever read the rainbow fish?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, go read the rainbow fish. It's just like that. I'm going to give my sparkly scales to the next guy and it's going to make me feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's hilarious. All right. Well, it's been so great having you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today. That's going to be the end of this episode of Morgan Means Business. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.